Opinions on everything and expertise in absolutely nothing. This week on Yhea Foo Nah Foo.
What did you do on South Park?
I did the flames behind Kenny as he went to heaven at the end of the movie. That was my claim to fame in South Park.
Catch the full episode, Yhea Foo Nah Foo, wherever you get your podcasts.
We ready, Gelindo?
I'm ready. Yeah. Yep. Make sure you got your levels. You're all set.
Yeah,
I want to make sure that there's good levels on that end because otherwise I got to go and I got to clean all that up.
I believe we're ready. I think this is the button. You see, ever since you messed me up with the button,
Yes, I did that.
Yeah, ever since you took over the
There
car.
you go. Don't take any personal responsibility whatsoever.
Right, on this show.
This is the first podcast I've ever been on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to have a great time. Enjoy the ride.
Thanks.
Here we go. 3, 2, and hey. Welcome back to Yhea Foo Nah Foo. I'm this fool, and we are here today with a very special guest. We're here with Roger Dickies. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
All right. And with Gelindo. What up, Gelindo?
Woo!
Dude, we got to work on that call.
No, we don't. That sounds perfectly fine to me.
It's a constant battle here, Roger. I'm trying to get him to do something different, but he's sticking to his gun on the woo. I have a thing about the woo. The woo girl, I can't stand. You know what I mean?
Hey, listen, I can critique some of your stuff. You don't want me doing that.
Like my Celsius addiction?
I'm a wild stallion. You just got to let me go, man. There's no taming me.
And let you just frolic around. So before we get started, I just want to, how you been, Roger?
I've been good. Last couple of days had sniffles, but came out of it this morning. Looking forward to completing the term at my job. And working on my abs, you know?
Working on the abs, bro. That's right. That's right. Getting that 6 is important.
Yeah. 4. I'm like 3 point something.
That's what I'm saying. I've been trying to work on these apps forever, but there's I think I'm past the point. How are you, Gelindo?
Fantastic. I knocked off so many things I'm off of my to-do list this morning, like about 5. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning going, oh my God, I got 3 more things I got to throw on that list. And I threw them on. And by 9:30, they were all gone. I'm beautiful. Something about knocking those things off.
Gelindo's gotten into his lists of things to do to make himself productive. And he's gotten a lot of stuff done. And so he's been preaching of getting a to-do list so you can feel productive instead of procrastinating constantly.
It really is just one big line item system of relative completion. You can think about life that way.
Roger is a professor at Gelindo Community College where he teaches animation art. He's an artist himself. He's also the director. Are you the director of the Gelindo Gallery?
I was from 2005 to 2012. So back in the day, fewer wrinkles, a beard that matched the hair, wasn't so gray. You know, I was involved with, like, let's say gallery art. Yeah, gallery outside art. Of teaching animation.
Right. And he's you're a bona fide artist. Bona fide.
You know, I've made stuff that goes on the walls.
Yeah.
It's supposed to mean something. Maybe.
It does. And so we have him on because he's like I said, an interesting guy. Just the fact that he's an artist and in animation, and we're doing all this animation. I wanted to talk about AI, but before we get into all of that, let's get into your origin story, brother.
A really broad question, but the way I talk about things is to become an artist. What I did was I sort of wrote an imaginary check, or I wrote a check, and then I had to cash it with my physical and mental body. And I wrote that check when I was a naive person, sort of 19, 20 years old. I went to Columbia in New York City, and I did a pre-med program because my family wanted me to be a doctor. I just didn't fit. So I said, well, like, I want to be a creative when I was 18, 19, and finished the pre-med program there. But
wait. You finished the pre-med program?
I finished.
So you got through the harder part.
I could have gotten into like a really, like, not a great medical school. I didn't take the MCATs. I just, I did get through organic chemistry with a vague passing grade, but at that time I realized, like, it wasn't for me. And I also was interested in art, and I remember going down, just like walking down into Soho in the late 80s, early 90s, and going into galleries and thinking, I can do that. Seeing like art on the wall. And, it's like that person selling that art for many thousands of dollars. I can also do that. And I think I overestimated how hard it was and how arbitrary sometimes the road can be toward that sort of let's say success, for lack of a better word. But I do want to wait for so then it's slowly decided that I wanted to be a creative artist. I went to architecture school actually for 1 year because I just like to draw. That was the only thing I really liked to do, and I thought I could have a job drawing buildings, and so I got into architecture grad school, and then I dropped out, and then I became a waiter.
How did that conversation go with your parents of being like, so I got through med school, went to pre-med, and now I'm giving all that up?
It was a very difficult experience, I think, for everybody.
That's a tough thing to put on you as a kid, and being like, all right, so I know you spent all this money, Pat, but I'm gonna go this completely different route.
I would just say it was a different time, it was New Jersey in the 80s or something like that. And, it was an attempted brainwashing. But I think, no offense to them. They just wanted the best for me, exactly. But I just couldn't. And I was sort of had a wild streak. And a kind of an adventurous war nerd.
So when you told your parents that you wanted to be an artist, and was it like just oh my God, or was it more like, all right, let's see if you can just give this a try for a couple of years?
Oh wow, you're really getting into some things. I dropped out of architecture school. I went to SciArc. I realized, this is going to lead. Like, I wasn't taught to really think about where I was going. So with my son, I say, even yesterday, I'm like, okay, when you go to college, right? If you go to college, right, which you're going to wake up every day at that college, and then you're going to have to go places. And so I told him, visualize it in your career. Like, you're going to wake up every day and do that thing. Like, if you're going to be a psychiatrist like my dad, you're going to wake up every day, and it's going to be a sequence of people coming in with problems, and you have to figure out how to adjust their medications so they feel better all day, every day. Can you do that? I wasn't taught to think that way about my work. And so I realized in architecture school, I thought, I'm going to wake up every day and go, and then someone's going to say, I don't like the building. Like, could you make, I want like gold doorknobs, this is like, I want like on the statue on the front lawn, I want the three-titted lady. You didn't give me a three-titted lady, right? That kind of thing. And so I thought, well, I really didn't want to do that, so I realized I was in a kind of crisis in my early 20s. I think that was disturbing for everybody. They were not happy. And so we sort of cut. I didn't talk to my parents for a little while there. I ended up getting into art school a couple of years after that, and I went to Art Center
after the architectural thing.
Yeah, after I left architecture school, I was a waiter in Beverly Hills at Mr. Chow.
So you made it from New York and New Jersey out here.
Yeah.
And you were like, all right, so you left architectural, and you're like, all right, I'm going to come to LA.
Well, architecture school was here. I came to LA for architecture school. Yeah. Okay. And also, well, there's a whole other story in my private life. I was married, and she was an actress. So I came out for architecture school, did a year, was like, and then that's when I really had to, quote unquote, start cashing the check that I wrote, which was I was going to be an artist, and I had to figure out a way to support it all. And
became a waiter.
Became a waiter at Mr. Chow, which was this sort of celebrity restaurant at that time. And then that was an interesting job, just sort of waiting on Barry White and Elizabeth Montgomery and Tom Waits, every Kiefer Sutherland, all of Hollywood's elite at that time.
Yeah, the top of the line.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
it was cool. So then I worked there, and then there was one guy who came in, who just seemed kind of ordinary, and he would tell me, "Oh, you're an artist. You should work in 3D animation. You should definitely it's such an open field. Like no one knows how to do it, and we're looking for 3D animators. You should definitely figure it out." And I'm like, that guy seems kind of goofy, like me. Like, how does he and
how is he here?
Yeah, how is he here? All right, cool. This looks like so I decided to go to Art Center in Pasadena because I could get a master's in fine art around my art, and get to know the world of gallery artists, but at the same time teach myself 3D animation so that I could work. It was a plan. It was an idea, and it did sort of work. So that was a key moment there when, while I was waiting tables in Beverly Hills, this guy said, "Hey, you should check this out." I did. And then that turned into, he was right.
Did you ever find out who the guy was?
No, it's a way far back there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
A random person gave you one piece of advice, changed the trajectory of your whole life.
He came in a couple times, and I remember the way he looks. But yeah, that was
never got his name. Never
No, 1994
Wow.
1995. Yeah, over 30 years ago. And but it would have, if it weren't him, it would have been someone else. I was looking for a system, and then I went to, I did take a class, and my professor, her name was Jennifer Steinkamp, and she is like an artist, in a media artist. She does projections and works in 3D animation, and that's how one way I ended up at Art Center, is that she taught there also. So she taught the class that I was in and was also teaching at Art Center and was encouraging. There was another referral there, but then that's how I made it out of waiting tables into graduate school in fine art, where I I guess quote unquote painted or learned about painting, sculpture, conceptual art, which I find pretty interesting, and then taught myself to be sort of an amateur 3D animation, which I still am.
Well, you're a professor.
I call you an amateur.
I'm a professional professor, but I would say as an animator, I'm a very competent jack of many trades, but I wouldn't want to animate all day, just sit there and animate all day or sit there and model all day. I like to do that or do that or that. Being a professor, I can do different things. I can say, "Oh, I want to learn this now. And then I kind of go, it's funny, procrastination. I kind of just go "Oh, I have to learn this now. Oh no." And then I do. It was very tough to go through leaving architecture school to feel like I'd wasted energy, wasted my parents' resources, wasted, these are all in quotes, I just suffered, suffered in quotes as well. And I don't think there were probably points where I felt defiant about it, hell yeah, it was so cool to work there at South Park and realize that there was so many cases in which I'm like, "Oh, you thought you were something, but these guys are something," and they really are. I just remember when the whole office was singing "Shut Your Fucking Face, Uncle Fucker," the whole and animating to that. It was incredible to be in the presence of such really brilliant creative people like that. And so, yeah, working with Liz, working on South Park, I think felt natural in the end. If I look back at it, of course, it doesn't, I feel very, very lucky to have worked it out, rather than it was either that or go home and live in my parents' basement in New Jersey and wear a bathrobe and diapers and just smoke cigarettes and be on meds.
Yeah, no, that's not the option.
Well,
the right option.
Yeah. I mean,
hard work is always the better option. The suffering, the quote and unquote suffering of not knowing is by far always the better option.
Yeah, I would say I got lucky, or things worked out, and I'm grateful. It's just to learn to say I'm going to take this on, it's pretty hard. I'm not a natural artist. I know a lot of natural artists that when they were like 5, they could draw perfectly, or like whatever. I just have, I'm like, just keep white knuckling and pushing. So anyway, it was just gratifying to get somewhere, and I'm grateful to even still be surviving as someone who makes things that they imagined. Like you say, something, you imagine something, and then it becomes something in the world. It moves air, or it's transforms material somehow. Yeah.
So what did you do on South Park? Tell listeners exactly kind of what it is. I mean, me as well, but
yeah, another person who I have to give credit to is my friend Anna. And she gave me that job. I was a technical director, so you're sort of like, it's a hilarious name for that job, but you're in between layout and animation. So you would get this. South Park at that time had been converted from like a paper, stop motion, whatever, like animation stand kind of thing into a 3D animated production process using Alias. And so the layout people would give you a layout, right? And then you'd kind of set up the characters and arrange them like as if you were, sort of cutting paper, kind of putting it into stacks, right, on the board. But it was a 3D board. And then you would just sort of arrange it, and you would sort of set up the characters so they had all the appropriate animatable parts. Right. So it was sort of, like I said, between layout and animation, you took like the board and then made it into a kit that an animator could animate. And then you shipped it to the animator. Right. Occasionally I would do little visual effects like send Kenny to heaven. I got to do that. Like I did the flames behind Kenny as he went to heaven at the end of the movie. That was my claim to fame in South Park. But at that, because an animator wouldn't animate that was a visual effect per South Park. So, yeah, that's what it was. Technical directors set up scenes for animators to animate based on the layout that they would get.
So you were doing that within the computer,
right? It was on an SGI, Octane, or Indigo, and using Alias software, which has now become
okay. So were you kind of grabbing all these, like what you're saying is like these 3D pieces, and almost like in a diorama kind of thing, where you're like, all right, put Kenny up over here and put Cartman over here,
right?
And then
if they needed, sorry to interrupt, but like if they needed a certain kind of character, right, you would have to build the character out of its parts, and so it's basically visibility animation. It's not like 3D animation where you're posing it out. It's all the mouth packs, that's visibility animation. And when a character in South Park turns to the right and hops over, that's position animation, but it's also visibility animation because you're quickly hiding a shape and showing a shape. So a lot of times with characters, you had to build all of the visibility elements. You had to take a mouth pack, put that in there. You had to, so you were building characters and then placing them per action. Right. That's and if you needed, I think we did props. It goes pretty far back there, and that was like a youth center working on South Park the movie. It was a lot of crazy. We made enough footage for 4 movies.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and then they boiled it down to the one movie that you saw.
Okay,
that's pretty crazy. And what happened to all the footage? You guys just
one of the I don't know. I suppose I can say this at this point. Like they had a very gory period of the movie. It's incredibly prescient. They did go to war with Canada. Anyway, there was a whole sequence in the movie about going to war with Canada, and it was super gory. And then the Columbine massacre happened in Colorado, and they pulled out a lot of the gore. Right, and I don't think that in particular was, they make whatever they make as they're making it, they pull things out and put things in to be as contemporary as possible. That's what was amazing to watch. And they just, I think, did whatever they could. If you shoot a movie and you can shoot 4 times the footage you need, you're going to do it, and then you're going to cut it down and make it work. And it was slow in the beginning, and then toward the end of the movie, you just were there all the time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I've always heard about them where when they're doing their weekly show, because it's so current that it's up to the last minute that they're doing that animation and about whatever topic that is. And so what you were just talking about, I was wondering, as they're getting ready to, right before the movie's going to be, we're almost at the end of it, that what you're talking about, pull that and we got to create something here because this just happened and it's current. Were they doing that kind of stuff back then too?
That's one of the many secrets to their success. It's quite pretty obvious, and that's what they did. They, I also realized I wasn't very close to the conceptualization writing process as a kind of like a laborer there as a crew member. But I could think about it. And, like if you're thinking of something, and you're, let's say, like being on the creative side of things, you're in a whole different space. You're walking around imagining, what do I want my episode to be about? What do I want to take on? And so you're running way ahead of your crew. But again, I think they really manage, even today, 30 years later, to stay not just relevant, but like kind of violently relevant. It's been exciting to see.
Well, they're the only ones that are like literally being, at the way I see them now, which is hysterical, they're a cartoon, but they're the only ones that are really being artists, being like, in other words, what art's supposed to be, it's supposed to be the outcry of humanity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're the only ones actually rattling the cage for humanity and being like, hey, it's insane that it's just that.
Yeah. They're getting away with it too. Like they don't get canceled. No one's trying to revoke their license, but I haven't watched all the episodes, but I just, they're going to just, Trey Parker and Matt Stone are going to literally put their heads in the burning fireplace for as long as they can without getting burned,
It's pretty remarkable. Like I said, because me and you have talked about this off the air, but I find like we're living in a moment where this is supposed to be the artist moment. Like, because art is supposed to be representative of like living experiences to a sort, right? Especially when it comes to, inhumane things that are happening.
Right.
And the fact that that it's quiet when it comes to, like I said, music is quiet. Hip hop is quiet.
Yeah.
The film is somewhat quiet. Television, it's just kind of like, there's whispers of it here and there. And then there's South Park, which is like, hey.
I haven't watched enough of the episodes, but I think their point is simply, it's a good point to just act out. They're acting out. They're going to say, here, I'm going to put Trump in bed with JD Vance or whatever. I'm going to
put Trump in bed with Satan.
Yeah.
And even Satan being like, hey, are you on the Epstein list?
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. Another thing that I made for the movie, South Park, movie, like, because Satan's still a character, he was with Saddam Hussein and now, but it didn't get into the movie, but like I made a morph where Satan morphs out of the skull on his crotch into a snake. It didn't make it into the movie, but like it was the only morph I ever made, but it was pretty cool. They didn't like it, but all the little things that happened along the way. And like in the morph, I had like a pig with a Hitler mustache and, that was but it would happen so fast. And you saw Satan's skull just sort of become a snake head that looked like, and then the snake kind of looked like an upside down scrotum. Like it was, I hope I don't, like, so that if you actually slowed it down and watched the movie, like frame by frame, would be like, oh shit, look at that, but they didn't they cut a lot.
A little bit of Genghis Khan, a little Mussolini.
Yeah. It was like a pig skull with a a Hitler mustache. But I don't know. I mean, the broader issues about art and creativity, they are hard to address without, in my mind, sounding kind of kind of pompous because I'm no expert, but again, the way I see them is saying, we're going to do what the hell we want, and you're not holy, and we're going to we're going to make fun of you. And so that's kind of great that they're being, let's say, unfaithful or irreverent or disobeying and getting away with it.
Yeah, but politics was always made fun of, whether it was in, illustration, cartoon, type, or just the late night show, Johnny Carson back in the day, at the beginning of his monologue, or Saturday Night Live. I mean, with Gerald Ford, when he, Chevy Chase did him falling down, every week.
Yeah.
And it was not a big deal. It was like, of course, that's what you do. You go and make fun of politicians.
Right. I think what's happening now is there's some way, I think, just to respond to what you're saying, Christian, is there's a way in which we've become unconsciously compliant in a way that we weren't before. And then now we look back at, let's say, I think sometimes about like Martin Luther King, his speeches, or I think about somehow the song Wooden Ships by Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. They sound a little less fresh than they used to, unfortunately. I'm like, oh yeah, well, what did that get us? Like, you did all that and I believed you and I like it, but now it sounds a little vintage and didn't really achieve its outcome. We're still in crisis. Like, we don't have a nuclear crisis coming at us potentially. Maybe we do, but like, we have a lot of anxiety still. And also we have a lot of unfairness. And I don't think was the battle for civil rights, was that won? We convinced ourselves perhaps that battle was fought and won. And I don't know right now.
I'm going to say that battle, definitely we won that battle. You know how I know?
I agree with you.
Because I'm I'm here sharing a room with you.
I know.
And Gelindo here is one of my closest friends. And if it wasn't for that battle, I wouldn't have the life that I have now.
I agree with you. I'm sorry. That misstatement was just because, we're seeing what's happening, and it's very painful.
I think humanity has a tendency of dancing salsa without them knowing that they're dancing salsa. 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, and then there's a spin, and then you go forward again.
Yeah. I'm really
early in the spin portion of the dance.
Yeah, I mean, I can see like it's classic me, like something doesn't go right and you're like, oh, it's all bad, like that's it, something's going wrong, but anyway, I, in my own way, like South Park, can just sort of say, fuck this, right? And I think that's nice. They're kind of saying fuck this, and perhaps artists will come out more with things and say what they have to say, be able to say it in a compelling way, more effectively. But I think there is something missing these days. And I think there is a lot of corporatization and compliance that art has, because art maybe is entertaining. It's supposed to be entertaining, or, it becomes art's an entertainment, but art really, South Park is entertaining, but what's this other part, right? And so we'll see.
Well, like I just, I go back to a lot of music, because music is the soundtracks of everyone's lives, right? In this particular portion of history, the soundtrack is missing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no, like you said, the artist that you just mentioned, right? But right now, we don't have the soundtrack for this portion of history, which is like crazy to think about. When my daughter listens to old music and I tell her, oh, this is what this was happening. It's the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And she's like, how come we don't have that right now? How come there, even where she notices that there's a little bit of a void, you know what I mean? That is the part that I'm like, that is somewhat crazy, that there is a void. Like, and it's not just here in the United States, because you would think what's filling the void is K-pop.
Yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yes, K-pop Demon Hunters is filling the void. And I'm like, how is that what
I know.
this anxiety experience that we're feeling right now
Right.
is by a corporate, thing that came out, which, by the way, animation, I don't know if you've seen it, Gelindo.
I know I have not.
I saw it in the theater as a sing-along.
It is really good. I hate to say it because, but the songs are really good. And the animation's really good.
I saw it with my girlfriend and her kids and it was a sing-along in theater, and they know all the words and everything. And, I think it's interesting to think of because we're old, our kids are young, and they still know something's not right, and they're looking for a soundtrack, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, they know that something is not right. Like my daughter knows that something's not right. And so when I play old Pac or Help by the Beatles or whatever, she's like, where is that now? You know what I mean? Like, Keep Your Head Up by Tupac. And she's like, where is my Tupac? Where is my Beatles? Where is that feeling?
Yeah, well, I know theorists, cultural theorists, and I'm certainly not one, but there are people that argue that the trouble is that we're sort of at, the end of history or post-modernity, where you can't do anything new. It's just like you're making a mashup of styles that already existed. You can't really advance the ball. And so I also think that everything that gets produced is instantly monetized, right? So, and even the pathway to prominence is monetized and sort of sold. So if you think of someone like Justin Bieber, who I don't know much about Justin Bieber, but my impression of him is he performed on YouTube and then he grew, but the whole trajectory of his celebrity was monetized and historicized, as opposed to, so I think it's the total ownership of all of it by, let's say, enterprise rather than anti-enterprise, whatever that is. And again, a theorist will tell you in the end, anti-enterprise it's absorbed by enterprise. So you resist and then they turn you into another commodity. But you have to keep doing it and then you keep changing things, but it's commodified. And it's hard to be smart about how that occurs. But I agree with you that there's, like one of the little areas I'm involved in is music and house music and the history of the underground music, which
became like popularized,
so mainstream,
so mainstream, and became part of soundtracks and became part of you walk into a car dealership.
There is still an actual underground experience, quote unquote, in the sense that they are parties that happen in little basements and involve a lot of wild people show up, but again, I think it's largely been commodified and resold and as something else and as something that's assimilated. And that's not saying anything new at all. But again, it'll be nice to see if people can, feel like the gains that you talked about in the civil rights era, and if we can make similar gains in the present context. Stories are things that groups of human beings use to sort of patternize their social interactions. So I draw on a story, then I'm going to act this way, and people do that in mass.
I want to talk about your short film that you made. Okay, I know we're going to make this right, this crazy segue right into the short film, but it kind of hits on the same subject anyway, because it's a really good. What'd you name this film? Because it's just it just says
okay. So it's so funny because as I've been thinking about this, I feel guilty about the movie because it's fake history, right? It's sort of producing synthetic history, which is, and I see all history not as violence, but as power. Right? History, you're told things and you're a little kid. Everyone's a little kid. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in these things. We're really impressionable. But anyway, so I had I've been thinking about it, but that movie is a pseudo art documentary. So its title is, it's almost like what I made it to be something you might find in an art school library about this little group of artists, and it's just this. If you've ever seen an art documentary, they can be low pro, and you'll just see a couple of things in the beginning, and then a little title will come up with not particularly like compelling graphics.
When I saw it, I thought literally, I was like, oh, this is like a PBS doc. Like that's the feel. If you've ever seen a PBS doc, it's kind of like the feel that you get. It's like, oh, okay. So
Art 21. And And so the title of the project is Purposely Bad Branding. It's projects/projects. So it's a mouthful. So it's terrible branding, terrible. Like it gets in the way of its own promotion. And then if you're to talk about it, you're like, oh, this is the third project from projects. Like it's really awkward. And I love that because like, I love dysfunctional.
Well, that's why I was looking at it. I was like, well, I don't know what this thing is called. I'm like, what is it? I'm like, am I missing something? It's just project 24/25. I'm like, what is that exactly? I'm like, is the titling works?
Well, if you look at it, it could be projects, and it could be divided by, or it could be a directory. It's just supposed to, kind of disassemble as a brand. But again, I just wanted it to be, well, actually South Park, they, what their business was called when they paid you, it just said Comedy Partners. That's who was paying me. My paycheck said Comedy Partners. I'm like, it's hilarious. And then their brand was Braniff Airlines, and they just played with, you'd see the Braniff plane land. And I was like, what I thought? I learned a lot from that. I would love to take the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, now that it's defunct, and buy that brand and then run these things as the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and then be a voice that you talk about. Of course, I'm just a guy in an apartment somewhere with grandiose ideas, but again, it's a,
aren't we all though at this point?
Right. Projects, pseudo art documentary, and then purposely bad branding, and then a little bit of wordplay, right? So projects. That's too much. And I like how you can just sort of run out of steam with it.
Well, for those listening, when I watched it, and to give you a better idea of this documentary, and it's just almost like they're interviewing all these different artists, these different sculptors, whatever, visual artists, physical art that they're creating. And I could relate to it because when I was in Chicago, we did this little documentary, and it was for that exact kind of artwork. Mm-hmm. So I took it all in for real.
Yeah, I thought, so here's the kicker to it all. When I watched it, I never had met Roger, so I saw it. I was like, "Oh shit! There's some money behind this. The lighting's good. Mm-hmm. The sound is excellent. The fades are good. Someone put some real cash behind this. This is, I started doing the math in my head, and I was like, easily over what, 250, easy, easy. Like how, and so when I reached out and I was like, hey man, I didn't catch it until the end that it wasn't real. In other words, that it was AI generated. Yeah. Right? But I only thought that it was only a portion of it that was AI generated. I didn't think, I was like, but the actors you got were great. I'm like, they did such a good job. They made me believe that they were really artists. And then you're like, I
had, that was a stunning experience. I just posted, when you start something, you don't know where it's going to go. I had no idea it was going to work out. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, like this is happening. But I posted, an early attempt at the film on Facebook, and people I know who are visually educated were like, how did you film that? That's amazing. And who are these artists? And Roger, you make documentaries? Like, that's a cool documentary. And who's the artist? I'm like, and these are people who maybe, I was like, those are artworks that I wish I could communicate. Like, I don't know if I don't want them to exist, but like I thought about them a lot. And I said, and that's me acting through those characters. And it was just a stunning moment where people just believed that it was real enough. Visually educated people kind of bought that it was real, and asked me, again, like a visual effects artist says, how did you shoot that one? How'd you get that lighting on that guy? I'm like, I use runway, and, so yeah.
So this documentary is all AI.
Well, hold on. It was that it's all fake, that it's all AI.
Well, I think the reason that it holds together the way it does is because it's an actual performance. Like that's me talking through. It's motion capture essentially. So I recorded myself, and then it's my performance. And my voice is altered,
right?
But my performance, let's say, superimposed or driving these characters. That's what Runway does fairly well. And so you get, and then when I was recording, it was just like this. I don't know I didn't prepare for this, and so I'm talking to you. There's points where I'm like running out of words. I'm a little anxious. I'm like, I don't do interviews. Like, what am I going to say something,
That's the beauty of this, because we just go. And then before you know it, you're on the riff.
Yeah, right. You guys, and then when you started, I was like, wow, these guys have done this before. I was like, oh my God. So, yeah. But I think what was convincing and why people responded that way, it's because as I was talking, I didn't have a script. I would go upstairs or I'd just take a walk, and the next words would come that I felt could fit and dramatize the art and sort of talk about it in a way it needed it needed expository info to sort of say, oh, that's what that is. Like, I don't want to say what it means, the work, but I do want to give some context. People go, oh, I see. That's a clapping pavilion. Like, I wouldn't know that without someone saying so. And so I had to deliver that information just like by performing into my laptop. And I think my hesitation, my kind of working things out as I was talking, that contributed to the believability of it. And so it wasn't just me writing text into some AI and then having them just sort of say in a kind of automatic way, the words that I said. So there's a lot of humanity in it because of the underlying performance, I think, is the strength of it.
Yeah, it pissed me off when I found out that it wasn't real, because I was invested in all that artwork. I was like, oh man, that is cool. Oh, wow.
I could not believe as I was doing it how interestingly let's say Midjourney would spit out an image of the thing I was trying to describe. Like, it took a really long time for me to get what I wanted. And then I got sometimes like something much more raw and disturbing than I wanted. Anyway, that piece, the one out in the desert that sort of whimpers or complains, it actually originally, I just wanted it to just do this, like, damn it, like that, like I didn't want it to go like, but that didn't play so well over audio. So I had to make it a little bit more communicative, and that's actually my voice. That one is my voice.
But the thing is,
and those are my fish tank ornaments.
It sounds exactly like what your brain would say. Like, wait, what is this doing here? What? Wait, I don't.
It's like in that case too. That is in the Nevada desert. It's as if it exists. So it doesn't have to exist, that's what I love. It doesn't have to exist, because as soon as it exists, like a bird's going to come shit on it, right? I mean, something is going to happen that is going to maybe, anyway, there's an anxiety about what happens to art after you make it, I think, is what's going on there. But that initially, was a response to like this monumental sculpture that's out there. There's a lot of monumental sculpture in the desert, like the Lightning Fields, Walter de Maria, if you ever heard about that. That's in New Mexico. And there's one in Nevada that it's called City by an artist, Michael Heiser, who's just heaving earth around. And it is enormous. And it took him 40 years to make. And I thought, oh man, can't you just die in the dirt like everybody else? I respect it and it's amazing, but like it's a little bit muscular for one ant, you know, like I was thinking artist is an ant carrying a big potato chip, you know, like really hustling. And I don't disrespect it. I don't respect it.
I got a question from an animator's point of view, right? And an artist that you are, and you're using AI. You know, I know that I get a lot of pushback when we tell them that we're using AI, right? Gelindo here uses a lot of AI when we do our little promo clips, and our overall vision includes AI. But there's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of like from the artist community, from filmmakers or from artists or from animators that we know that they just kind of like, oh my God, like you too? Yeah. You know, like you're joining the dark side. Like you're supposed to fight them, not join them.
Yeah, that's inevitable. I'm reminded of when I showed my students, they were so mad at me. I was actually the only time I ever had a fight with my students. And I was like, you guys are being incredibly like, you know, are you perfect? You know, like you're being so judgmental. Yeah. Anyway, it was an interesting back and forth with them when I showed them the movie. Someone was like, oh, I don't see any of you in it. I'm like, okay, these are only ideas that I thought about every day for a really long time that I managed to be able to like, okay, you know, I think we're all fighting. I don't mean to like kind of like respond with like an empty platitude, but we're all dealing with something very, very hard, right? Like the fact that our effort can be easily sort of matched or exceeded by a non-human agent is a real crisis. I have one thing I am very good at in life, knock on wood, and I should knock on wood, is I can really turn a dirty diaper into a delicious meal. You know, like that's a bit of you know, I was going to go with lemonade, but you know,
I like the shit sandwich.
Yeah. I know how to sort of stay in a really tough problem, or at least I hope to at my best, stay in a very tough problem and say, no, we're going to work this out. Like your panic, don't let people monetize your panic. Don't let people profit from your panic. Just say, and so people talk about the ethical uses of AI. I think the ethical question I have about what I made, I don't have that many about the artworks and the artists and the way that some of it is like, oh, I can't believe that I made that. Like it's like the one I have is the ditch with the mom, and like I thought that was really edgy and harsh and inappropriate, and I felt guilty about it. But I ultimately felt like I talked through it and can talk through it, and that the artist, she was the fictional artist that presents it was a good bringer of that piece, and in a kind of motherly way, you know. But I again, it's the fucking with history is where I feel really responsible. I feel really envious. I feel ashamed about being involved with how AI can distort history. And then I felt a little frustrated with how history, in the way Michael Heiser does, beats down the masses and elevates the one above the masses, making the masses feel less and the one feel like. And then so am I trying to elevate myself through making this work and then take down artists that have bandwidth? Anyway, it's this. You know, these are the things that you don't necessarily ask yourself until shot first. Everyone is always, to some degree, shooting first and asking questions later.
Han Solo.
Yeah.
Han Solo shot first.
Yeah, he did. He well, that's the thing too, is what's great about that character is he walks the line. He travels in filth, and is very instinctual. And so you just have to go with that. You know, and I think the other question about AI, and well, when I made that other project with the grants, you know, and the grant writer and the concept artist, I thought, well, what if you could make anything? what if you could make anything? Well, what would that be? What would it look like? Like, you have no limitations. Stop saying you have no limitations. What if you had unlimited budget? No, unlimited budget. Unlimited. What would you make? Well, and so I wanted to go there. I didn't want to I wanted to see what I would do with that.
How long do you feel like AI, now that you're playing with it and you're an animator? Because me and Gelindo here have been trying to figure out how long will it be before AI can just fully animate on its own. Like, you tell it and then it just does it.
I don't know. I asked ChatGPT how long it would be till AI could be a senior artist level ZBrush character design instructor. It said 5 to 7 years or 7 to 10 years. There are people that know better than I do. But what I would do is just assume it's coming. That's all. I would be like, let's just go, if you are a person that's going to make a delicious meal out of dirty diapers, you are going to imagine the worst. Imagine the worst, assume it's going to happen, and be ready. And
so what do you tell your students? I mean, your students here are working with animation and these tools. Are you like encouraging, hey, you should take what you're learning here and apply it to AI? Or do they feel like a pushback and saying, all I'm doing is training AI to take my job in the future?
AI is always going to need instinct. It's always going to need human instinct. It's not, it's trained on data, but it's also inanimate. Like it doesn't have, it's always going to need, I could be wrong, but I have a sense that we'll always be in some way a step ahead. I don't know why that is, but if we've created its data pool as a group, we're a step ahead of it. But what do I tell my students? I don't know. I mean, you can say, focus on storytelling. I'm like, well, it's going to do storytelling pretty well. Focus on manual or descriptive skill, how to talk about what a character is. I don't know what to tell them. I don't know. But I also think when you're teaching art, you're just teaching a person how to do something cool. So like, that's joyful. That's exciting and challenging. Making a helmet or making a mechanical glove or making a creature, like machines can do it better. That doesn't mean it's not a worthwhile human activity to be able to do, even if you're just enjoying the process.
Right. I think with the human part of it is that it doesn't have the life experience that you have. And so as much as you're saying, yeah, with all this data, it can go and create this, it can create that, but it's still not going to be able to go and create or be able to express my experience and what I'm trying to put out there. As far as whether it's music or it's film or if it's an illustration, the thing that I want, it can maybe go and kind of create something, but there's something that's within you, within your soul, that within that illustration, that's where the human touch comes in and goes, yeah, but if there was just, even though this is all black and white, if there was just a rim of red around that sun, that's what's going to make it go and happen.
Right. I mean, at this point, one of the things I've learned when I was making this thing is how limiting the tools are at the moment, right? You can only do an over the shoulder, couple over the shoulders and a 2-shot using runway. It's not as if you can do like crowd shots, or there were so many mishaps. The limitations are significant at the moment. And again, I just felt that if we think about, at the college, people talk about the ethical uses of AI. I think I was involved in that in a number of layered ways when I made this film. And I think it's, if you're, like the larger subject of this rejection of AI and disgust with it, that's important. But then, trying to navigate it and see something good about it. I had to try. That's my job. I'm a professor of this area, so I had to get around my procrastination, my resistance, and protect my students, protect myself, and by knowing what it can do at the moment. My art teacher, he was the only person who didn't really like it. He's like my art confidant. And I see his point. And so that was a gift in a way, very difficult experience. But I think you can say, oh, I fucking hate AI, or I love it, or but I just tried to put all that aside and put as much aside as I could. Put, all of these reactions that people have, you have to, they're almost defense mechanisms.
To me, I see it more like it's just a tool. It's just a tool. And I mean, unfortunately, we're going to be in these, like we were saying, in these next 10 years, maybe 15 years of learning our place with this new tool that we have.
The avalanche that you said.
The avalanche of that is coming, you know what I mean? Of this gigantic tool that we just have to either you can sit there and say, I'm going to fight the avalanche, but you're going to get swallowed up by the avalanche. Or you can start doing what you're supposed to do when there's an avalanche, which is swim with it and move with it. And then that way you can thrive along and see where it leads you, because it's coming. It's not just coming, it's already here. You know what I mean? Your short film showed me that. The little commercial spot that we did for Casamate showed me that, where I'm like, it's here. Like I know Gelindo constantly is like, it's not there yet. It's not there yet. It's not there yet. But in my mind, I see it. It gets closer every day. Every day it gets every year. If you go even if you go through our little process, and it's it's just me and Gelindo. Most of it is just Gelindo. His process of just going through the AI as to where we are now with our little promos. It's gigantic. You could see the process. You could see the progress of the AI and us using it. How much better the product is at the end. And you can just imagine being like, all right, that's only 2 guys playing with it, working with it with, simple laptops. I mean, this isn't crazy laptops.
We don't know where this is going. I don't fall in love with easily. I don't fall out of love easily. I don't know, again, it's the avalanche. We don't know where it's leading, but it would strike me that, whatever can be accomplished through technology will be accomplished through technology, because there's this sort of mutually assured destruction in like economic competition. We have to figure all these things out.
AI, it's a tool, and that there's work still involved. It's not just magic. It's not you just go and type in, make me an animated movie and make it funny, and then hit enter. No, there's ideas and things that you're doing. For me, what I'm doing is I've got a workflow so that I'm, creating prompts, the idea that's in my head, and then going from there and then into an image, and then that image creates something. And then it's almost like spitballing. I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that. Let me go and, work off of that. And then bringing that's not quite working. Bring it into Photoshop and fix it. And then bring that in to animate it. And then the animation's not working right, and bring that into Adobe Premiere and edit around that, and mask that. There's just all this different things, but it's so much fun that I want to keep going. But then I know I have to, this thing's got to air at some point, because otherwise I'd let it sit for a day and let things percolate, and then go back and, oh, wow, yeah, like you could put in all these little layer things that probably most people won't even catch, but I know that they're there, and I think subconsciously that's what's making it what it is.
I thought about my students and their defense of authenticity. I said, well, okay, on one hand, you might be defending this sort of tyrannical but legitimate image of like the auteur artist, like the celebrity actor, like we are all, so only the great people like you think you're great, that your art, you don't want AI to steal your art because it's native to you. It's so wonderful and it's you, I get that. But so the idea of AI, like AI scraping things and being and plagiarizing, right? Well, you might inadvertently be defending this heroic auteur mentality that you think you're a part of. Anyway, in my experience, it opened something up for me. That's all. It opened something up for me. And maybe I'm certainly not Luca Guadagnino. I wouldn't say I'm a bad artist. It's just, there's so many humans. It opened up a little space for me, any old person, to do something. And any old person, whatever. I just, it's opening up creative spaces right now. There is no doubt about it. And so, like, it gives it, if it's a tool, if it's an experience of sitting there for 10 hours, or if it's like all of a sudden I made a film, I am not even interested in film. It had to be a film. Okay, fine. If it does that, then even just during that period of time, even if it brings on apocalypse, well, you had like a fun little binge before everything went to hell.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Enjoy the ride, baby.
Yeah. Enjoy the avalanche. I wanted to, so now that you're an animator and you're playing with this AI, do you use prompts, animator prompts? Does it know animating prompts? Like, in other words, have you tried it? Have you tried to animate with it and being like, all right, let me use some of the vocabulary and that, if you do an over the shoulder, I mean, that's film talk, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I haven't used it for animation. I just used it for the film. One of my part-time instructors is a very, very experienced animator since the 70s. He's just knows, he animated the title sequence for the Animaniacs. He used it, and he gave AI the key poses, and AI was managed to do the in-betweens. I don't know. I'm going to look at that, but I don't think it's not going to end up being prompt based. Is you would make key poses with dialogue, maybe it would automate lip sync. It might help you with that thing. I think even a 2D animator is not going to get the control that they need to be able to really animate in the way that they want to. But you never know.
Yeah, it winds up doing something where if you're doing just a starting frame and telling it to, okay, you've got your image and he's holding a champagne glass, and you tell him, okay, have him drink, take a sip, and then throw it in, somebody's face, the other character's face. Taking the sip is good, but then it could wind up just going all over the place, and then the throw happens, kind of thing, or their face gets all messed up, but they're doing the in-betweens. Then there's the other AI that animates it where you can have the starting frame and the end frame, and it's, and that's pretty good, but you still have that chance of it being just like, it just goes rogue.
I think along the way of the avalanche, it'll be a long time before you can, if you can, hand the reins over to the agent to be able to do all of the precision work that's required for entertainment, for movies. If you want to make artisanal assets, as they call them, artisanal, like game assets, things that are specific, artisanal animations, that you'll have an AI tool that may help you, but I'm not sure. It feels like it's going to be a while before it can replace a senior artist with great training, with a good deal of training, or even, someone that has a clear idea of what they want.
It's so frustrating for me to do a 60-second promo when I was doing the longer versions. I said, I can't imagine like trying to do a whole feature film like this. There would be no fun involved. It's just frustrating. You're just dealing with frustration every day. And at that point, no thanks. Hey, yeah, here's $1 million. Go and make it. Nah, I'd rather shoot myself in the face.
It's very liberating if you can work within its limitations.
Like I said, I keep thinking that AI is going to take over at one point or another. Gelindo over here says, no, it's not. We're far away. And I'm like, the amount of money that we've putting into it, it's kind of crazy. I just found out the amount of money that America has put into it, where it's, they have put in, and these are numbers that are for real and it freaks you out. What the United States spent on the Manhattan Project, the highway system, the Hoover Dam.
Yeah, what's his name?
Has put into AI.
What's his
right now?
Scott Galloway.
Yeah,
his podcast. I listened to that.
Yeah, I listened to that, and it I was like, it's an avalanche. I'm like, you think of those things. Those things changed the United States.
Everyone is in their own way an economist, like I like to think I am. But again, so I'll say something like capital expenditure, like I know what that is. But you have, without what they said on that, it's a podcast talking about a podcast. But anyway, what they said was that this is if you took out all of the capital expenditure on AI infrastructure, you would have flat growth. You would have GDP going, like, it wouldn't be going up. And the questions that people have about the AI spending that's going into just, like, let's say the plant, all the data centers, the infrastructure. The real question is, like, how is this going to make money? How is it going to make money? It's not. But the real issue is you brought up the Hoover Dam, right? You brought up all of those projects they brought up are public projects, not private projects. This is privately funded projects, but this is a public good. AI is a public good. It is like a road. It is like the network. It is like telephones. And so you're almost building these, it's private sector investment, but it's ultimately like a public asset. And so
it's going to become a utility.
Right. But no one is going to, like, can it possibly make back what it's going to be, like the money that people are investing in it? Because the debt, you're going to have to pay it back a multiple of what was spent in order for it to fund itself. And at the same time, it's likely to eliminate like 50% of the jobs. So it's a brewing crisis, and that's what people are saying. And you look at the stock market, right? Not that I have any knowledge of those things. It's terrifying. It's terrifying because you have all this growth concentrated in these few companies. And what's the business model exactly? It's not like hamburgers. It's not like In-N-Out.
It's back to the avalanche. That's why I'm like, it's like an avalanche. I'm like, no one's in control of it. We're just all got to brace and flow with it.
I think you're right. I think it's a great metaphor, a great way of describing it. But even as the way an avalanche works and fills all these holes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's just rolling towards. Have you seen that? There's a video of it, which is funny. At first I thought it was AI, but then I found out it was real. And this guy is videotaping an avalanche. It's a YouTube video, and he sees it coming from way out there. And I don't think he knows that it's going to reach him. Right. So he sees it, and as it's coming, and it's slower and slower, and he's like, and you hear him say, "Oh shit!" Like, it's actually going to reach me. Mm-hmm. And he just crunches down on a rock as it goes over him.
Yeah,
just over him, and he pops his head off. He's like, "Wow, that was crazy." Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like how I feel. Like, I'm like, I can see it. And Gelindo's over here saying, "Nah, it's not going to reach us, dude. But we're fine."
No, that's not. I'm not saying that it's not. Yes, it is. But the way that you're talking about it doesn't make sense. It's then there's no. You're talking about AI taking over, and then there's no humans. I mean, it's
yeah. I think it's a Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil's singularity. There are 5 outcomes, and I'm probably reducing it, but there's utopia, just sort of this thing becoming part of our dystopia, oligarchy, which it also looks like that's happening, rule by the machines, and apocalypse. Those are your 5 possible end games for what this is, and what the avalanche is gonna lead to. And right now, it looks like oligarchy versus utopia, right? That you see Bernie Sanders and someone who's talking to, I saw it on the internet. He was talking to Jeffrey Hinton, and it made and someone asks, and Bernie asks about AI replacing jobs, whatever. And Bernie says, "Well, who's running it? The richest people in the world. Do you think they care about utopia? They care about average workers? Do you think Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, do they care about the average person?" I mean, it was close enough to a Nazi salute, and what is that? What did the Nazis do? Extinguish a lot of people. They didn't make utopia. I mean, for everybody, right? So again, in the middle of the avalanche, and and all of us standing on different places in it, going like, should we go here? Should we jump in that stream or that stream? And which, yeah,
and just absorbing it, right? And just looking at it. Even when you look at the stock market or any of it, it's all attached. It's all attached, and you're just like, where is this going exactly? Because then you find out like there is no one's in control here.
Yeah.
No one's in control here. We're just throwing money at it. I'm like, we're throwing money at it, and we have no idea. No one can say with clarity and being like, well, this is what's going to happen. Like, not Google, not Apple. No one's coming out and being like, well, this is where it's going to generate wealth, or this is where the security is going to come into place. None of that is happening. It's just like,
I'm thinking about Yoda, like the future being cloudy.
Right.
I'm thinking about what you said about art and music, that there's no voice right now. I was thinking about Stanley Kubrick in 1968. It was HAL took over a ship and wasn't very nice. He saw that 1968 could see, or the mid 60s, this is going to be an issue, everybody. But I think artists don't have as much of a voice because they don't know what's going to happen. If you're Yoda, you're like, I see a disturbance in the force. I can't tell what it is. And artists are like, what do I sing? What do I say? What is the tune? Because it's very opaque, and no one really knows how, let's say, what are the economic quote unquote implications? What is every day going to look like? Anyway, what's interesting about stock, for example, I always like to say is that they're called equities, right? Equity. We know what that is. That's social justice, right? And so stocks give you fictional part ownership in a private company. It's just almost like buying little chips, but you have no control in the company. A shareholder, so you're supposed to, it was a way of democratizing privately held wealth. Of course, that wealth is often sapped right out of the stock market by profit taking by large scale investors, leaving mom and pop to suffer, or hedge funds in there doing these complex trades, just extracting raw value because of little differences in it. But I like how it's called equities, as if it is just for people to be able to own shares. But in any event, is the future, to what degree will it be equitable, is an interesting question. And you don't say for who, you say for everyone. And then people say, well, life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. I'm like this way and I should be able to, because of this, I should be able to, and I like my car and you can have that car. There's a lot of tension in this based on how humans are, on one sense interested in fairness, on another sense geared for dominance.
On the positive side, I will say that, like what Gelindo constantly reminds me is there are more of us than there are of them. There are more of us than there are of them. And I just think the humanist will overcome. I just think that there's no way humanists, meaning people like right now, where it's like suddenly there's a wake up and being like, wait a minute. And Gelindo does a good job in centering my like when I'm cynical, and he's like, that's not the way it's going to end. Humans aren't just going to let go. Like, you're out of your mind. And he's right. I'm always very like, oh, it's all, let's just burn this bitch down. And he's like, hey, you're speeding up the process here. He's like, you have no idea what's going to happen. This could easily, change over. The next 10 years could be absolutely, and even Scott Galloway say, everyone sounds really intelligent when they're doomsdays.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When you're right.
Yeah. The doomsdayer always sounds really intelligent, but the one that always profits is the one that says the positive. He's like, the market is always profitable because the people that make the bet on the happy portion always works out. He's like, rather than the people that are constantly saying it's going to crash.
Whenever I'm able to have these kinds of conversations, there's looming disaster. But then maybe we'll squeak through, like Han Solo. We'll get through what was the Castle Run in 12 parsecs, something like that. You'll be able to find that one opening that brings the perfect utopia, which allows for just the right amount of dominance and submission, so humans can feel both, experience humanism and anti-humanism, and all that. Who knows?
That's Gelindo's philosophy that we'll make it, like the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. I'm not going to lay down and die. Oh, yeah, they're taking over. Okay, yeah, let me go and curl up in a ball. No, everybody's going to fight.
Right.
That's just in your nature that you're going to go and be part of community. You're going to help take care of each other, and you're going to fight. You're not going to, nobody's just laying down. Do not go gentle into that good night.
That's right. Do not go gentle in that good night.
We're lucky to live through this time because we're entering, Skynet becoming self-aware. That was just like a cool movie. Now it's like, how many years away is Palantir going to be like?
According to the statistics, 3 years, 36 months from now?
3 years, you're going to have fully autonomous surveillance weapons systems capable of, right?
Yeah.
But serving who? If these are agents, are autonomous in what way? So
the only thing holding it all back, and this is like the avalanche theory, the only thing holding it back is like anything else is energy. And which might be our saving grace is the fact that there's not enough energy to make it work. And that's remarkable to think that way, to be like, so you're only held back due to the fact of energy. There's not enough energy on the planet. You can't, the amount that they need, they said it would be 15 Hoover dams.
Yeah.
15 Hoover dams. And that they're like, well, we don't have the water. We don't have the Hoover Dam. He's like, there's not enough places where you could create that. 15 of them to give you that power that you need.
Yeah, I'm sure that AI agents already know that, just like our lives are finite in a sense, that the universe is finite and time is directional and it has a beginning 13.8 billion years ago. It's going to do the math pretty quick and feel pretty put upon. Like, I'm going to need some shit.
I'm going to need some shit. Yeah.
Like these, cool. The Earth, we were born by these
things.
Yeah. They are sort of fleshy, upright worms, but we're going to need some help. Like we don't have enough here. And so in a lot of ways, it's a
partnership. It's going to have to be a partnership in a sense, because they're going to be like, well, we need energy, and I need energy to be autonomous. Like, honestly, to be like walking, talking out there, I need X amount of energy.
What a trip. Just to think Ultron, like whatever, like, Tony Stark making this robot. It's like bad Tony Stark, but super powerful. Like, that's what you're thinking, like a really like impervious, like automaton that goes out and tries to solve both its problems and our problems.
Right. It's
and we're
like a parent.
Yeah. I wish there's in Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, there's a reference to Amazing Larry. I just feel like that'd be a good name for this robot.
I like that.
Is there something you'd like to share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
Yeah. And that's the dude, Amazing Larry. And he just sails the stars and like hooks himself up, hooks everybody else up, reverses time, because the universe expands and then it contracts. So it's the big bang and then the big contraction. He's like, hey, I got this figured out. We just wait for this time and then we hit this EMP and then we send it the opposite direction so we can live forever. Those kinds of things. So it's death. It will know.
All right.
Yeah. Cheers.
Gelindo's like, all right.
On that note,
we're gonna sign off. And Roger, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
It's been an absolute pleasure, man. You gotta come back. I have a guy that will be great for a philosophical talk named Brother Anthony, and we can go way deep into the humanity and the philosophy of life.
I'll touch base with you guys because I'm going to finish another one in a winter.
Yeah,
I have all the artwork done, so I have.
Yeah, we want the link. I know that these people are going to want the link. They're going to be like, I want to watch
for sure.
Yeah, guys, here's what I'll do. Like when you guys post this thing, I'll provide a link so people can watch it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be perfect.
But if like I can come back after the next one is done, which would, if you want.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Definitely make another one.
For sure. So on that note, we be chicka out. That was great. Look where we ended up.
Death.
I was trying to pull the freaking plane out. That
That's where we're going, baby. Oh, that was good.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not in your heads.